Well, good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to our presentation. This is Understanding PJR's Pro 3 and related bylaws governing proper promotion of your management system certification. My name is Joseph Krolikowski. I am the QMS Program Manager for Perry Johnson. A couple of notes for our participants today. All of you are on mute, but we absolutely want to address your questions, so please utilize the question portion of the dashboard. One of the more common questions that we get is whether or not the presentation will be available after we're finished. We do make our webinars available in two ways. If you'd like to get a copy of the slides, those will be available for download on our website shortly after we're finished. And if you'd like to rewatch this webinar or perhaps share it with a colleague, we do post all of our webinar recordings to our YouTube page, and you can access that from our website also. Just look for the link entitled Previously Recorded Webinars. Our presentation today, we're going to go over what the Pro 3 document is and what it's all about. We're going to establish where it says you have to abide by the requirements of the Pro 3. We're going to talk about where you can get your hands on a copy of the Pro 3 and where the Pro 3 gets its requirements. These are not requirements that we dreamed up. They do come from different places. We're going to have some discussion on how to implement these requirements kind of in plain English, give you some common sense explanations. We'll talk about what might happen if you don't abide by these requirements. I've got a couple of concluding remarks and then your questions. So let's start with what is Pro 3? Well, the title of Pro 3 is Procedure for Publicizing and Advertising Certification and Use of the PJR logo, as well as the standard licensing body logos and accreditation body symbols. Now, we wrote this document for a couple of reasons. One, we're required to have it, but also to make sure that our clients are best enabled to stay in compliance with the many industry and accreditation body requirements that pertain to promotion of certification. Now, in terms of where it is established that you must abide by these requirements, well, it comes from two key places. Firstly, ISO 9001 or any other Annex SL rooted document indicates that you as a client are subject to the bylaws of the industry and from PJR specifically. And that makes us an interested party. That obviously ties back to section 4.2 of the standard from ISO 9001. Now, in addition, it also stipulates that this is a contractually binding statement. It comes from section 4. From our F3 terms and conditions. And sorry about that, had an issue with my microphone there. Okay, so let's start over. In addition to being rooted in ISO 9001, this is also a contractual matter. Our terms and conditions in the F3 TC indicates the following contractually binding statements. Firstly, that you warrant and covenant with PJR that you will use all registration marks and symbols properly. And it even references the Pro 3 within the Okay, and also within that F3TC, it warrants and covenants with PJR that you will comply with all reasonable requirements necessary for issuing your certificate, including all statutes, rules, regulations, etc., from statutory, regulatory bodies, and the accreditation bodies. So we've made this a contractual matter via our terms and conditions, and additionally, we've made this a matter of the from ISO 9001, section 4.2. Now, in terms of where you can get a copy of the Pro 3, we are required to make Pro 3 and multiple other documents available in a publicly accessible manner. And so to do that, we've created a page on our website titled Registration Document Download. So if you go to pjr.com, you can go to the bottom of the PJR homepage and you will find the link Registration Document Download. If you click on that link, you can find access to Pro 3 and to multiple other PJR documents. Now, in terms of where the requirements that are in the Pro 3, where those things come from, understand that there are industry requirements at play, things from the ISO, and there's accreditation body requirements at play as well from folks like ANAB and UCAS. Now, I've given a list of examples here in this bulleted list here. Now, I'm going to be referring to some of these in our presentation today. Now, I've also tried to mark, if you note the PD marking, some of these items are public domain, and some of them you have to purchase. So this list is not completely exhaustive. It does not cover all of PJR's accreditations, but this is most of the significant requirements. These are, I should say, most of the significant requirements at play that make up our Pro 3. So to begin with, we have ISO 17021. That is you can think of that as ISO 9001 for certification bodies. When we get audited by ANAB or UCAS or what have you, the primary document they're holding us accountable to is 17021. Now that is, like all other ISO standards, it is a purchasable item. Most of you shouldn't need to purchase a copy of it for yourself, but obviously you do have the option. Getting into ANAB, they have their PR 1018. That is a public domain item. If you do a Google search for ANAB PR 1018, you can download a copy of it for yourself. UCAS, their document doesn't have a number, but it does have a name. It's called Accreditation Logo and Symbols, National Accreditation Logo and Symbols Conditions for use by UCAS and UCAS accredited organizations. The IATF has its Rules 5th edition, soon to be Rules 6th edition, starting in 2025. And then we start getting into some of the more niche areas, things like the FSSC and Series License Agreement. Now, if you read through all of these aforementioned requirements, the basic idea behind all of them can be boiled down to two key ideas. Firstly, you cannot advertise your certification in any way that states or implies that your certification applies to anything not certified. So in other words, if you've got 10 offices across the United States and only 2 of them are ISO 9001 certified, you cannot indicate intentionally or accidentally that the other 8 offices are certified. Makes sense, makes perfect sense. But that's one of the big points that's made in each and every one of those aforementioned requirements. Secondly, you cannot reference your certification in any way that states or implies that your products and or services are certified. Now, That's a little more nuanced. We're going to get into what is meant by that statement a little bit later in my presentation. So let's start at the very tippy top, the ISO globe. Put plainly, you cannot use the official ISO globe. Unfortunately, when you do a Google search, and I think a lot of our clients that make this mistake, this is exactly what they do. They go on Google, they search ISO logo. This pops up, they think, oh, that's neat. They download it and put it on their website. You cannot do that. The ISO takes the matter of its own logo very seriously, and they have strong language on their website about legal ramifications for noncompliance. So if you want to research this yourself, there is a website. The ISO website does have a page regarding the usage of its logo. So again, you cannot use the ISO logo or anything that looks remotely close to the ISO logo. Now, here in the United States, the primary logo that we put on most client certificates is from the ANAB. Obviously, that is the primary accreditation body here in the United States. We do have 4 other accreditations representing 4 other international areas. In the United Kingdom, we have UCAS. Some of you on our call today may have a UCAS logo on your certificate. For certs that are issued in Mexico, we offer the AMA logo. We have Accredia in Italy, and we have the JAB in Japan. Now, we do have some clients that will very rarely ask for multiple of these logos, but generally you only really need one in order for the certificate to be accepted in most circumstances. Now, in terms of sectors, we have some other available logos. We are an IATF accredited certification body, so we offer the IATF logo. We are also certified for R2 through CIRI, so we do have the R2 logo. We also offer RIOS, another form of for recyclers. And as I mentioned earlier, we do have recognition from the FSSC Foundation as part of our food safety program. Now, all 4 of those accreditation bodies have a logo that is used on the client certificate where appropriate. And we do have a few others on top of these, but I grabbed these because they represent the larger share of what we have available to us. Now, again, if you read the requirements from the accreditation bodies, the usage of their logos, for the most part, the requirements are fairly standard. They will allow you to use their logo on marketing materials, on websites, and so forth. ITF and AMA are 2 notable exceptions. In both cases, they mandate that their logo can only appear on the official registration certificate. Now, you are allowed to post your certificate to your website. That's long been an accepted practice. All of the accreditation bodies that permit usages of their logo, they all mandate that you have to use the AB logo with the PJR logo. So in other words, you can't use the AB logo by itself, and also you can't use the AB logo in any way as to imply that your products or services are certified, like we mentioned a little bit earlier. Now, UCAS, unfortunately, makes this a little more complicated. UCAS's requirement indicates that their logo and the certification body logo has to be enclosed in a box. Now, we have had some clients in the past that have wanted to use the UCAS and ANAB logos on their website. Now, putting the PJR and UCAS logos in a box was interpreted by ANAB as indicating that ANAB was somehow accrediting UCAS, which is, of course, not the case. So, to put this in plain English, if you intend to use more than one AB logo on your website, you will probably need to use the PJR logo multiple times as well. So on the left, you can see we have the UCAS and PJR logo boxed together, and the ANAB logo is sitting there also. You might think that looks nice and clean. Well, this is actually not allowed. What you have to do if you want to use both the UCAS and ANAB logos, you have to use the presentation as we have on the right here, where the PJR logo is actually used twice. Now, in my opinion, when I'm asked by our clients, what's the best way for us to stay in compliance with Pro 3? Put a custom logo together. Put some kind of, put your art department to work and have them come up with something that is unique to you. Maybe even something that incorporates your existing company logo, your existing brand, your own colors, what have you. That way, you will not run afoul of any AB requirements, and you'll stand out from your competition besides. Now, let's talk a little bit more about putting the certificate on the website, because this is probably the #1 strategy that our clients use for promoting their certification. There are two common issues with this. Firstly, the certificate being posted in color and downloadable. Now, the accreditation bodies, they have mandates on what colors can be used, right down to referencing Pantone branded color specifications. Now, color reproductions may not meet the AB requirements, which could lead to issues later. Also, if you are going to post a copy, we advise you use a black and white copy on the website, or take steps to ensure that it cannot be downloaded, or if it can be downloaded, that it is watermarked. So in other words, the logos are not going to be transferable by someone from downloading your certificate. Another issue that we see is the certificate on the website not being the most current certificate. Now, you are allowed to present a certificate history of you if you choose, but you must ensure that your most current certificate is always displayed. There are some other issues that we see on websites. You may have a website with a banner that reads ISO certified. Now, please understand there are hundreds of ISO standards. You do have to indicate which standard you're referring to, whether it's ISO 9001, 14001, etc. Another issue that we see, a website with a common header that references the certification on pages referencing activities or locations that aren't actually part of the certification. So, for example, let's say that you have an office in Michigan that's ISO 9001 certified, but your website is talking about locations in Indiana, Wisconsin, and Ohio, all under banners that read ISO 9001 certified. That is not allowed. Also, let's say that your ISO 9001 certification is limited to your machine shop, but you have your ISO certification being referenced on pages discussing a foundry. That's also not allowed if the foundry is not actually part of the certification. Now let's talk a little bit about what we really mean when we say don't indicate that the product or service is certified. Now there's a few very specific cases that are outlined in Pro 3 and in the mandates. So firstly, the certification cannot be referenced on any document directly related to a product. Now, this is going to include things like inspection reports, certificates of analysis, certificates of approval, etc. So if it's a document that shows test results or any of this sort of thing, you cannot reference the certification on such a document. The certification can also not be referenced on product packaging, and this includes individual or bulk packaging. Now, product packaging gets defined in section Pro 3 as follows. This is packaging that is considered as that which can be removed without the product disintegrating or being damaged. Now, in certain cases, it is permitted to reference the certification on product packaging, but there's a lot more detail that has to be provided. It can't just say, for example, ISO 9001 certified. If you absolutely must reference your certification on product packaging, these 3 bullet points in the middle here identify what is mandated. Firstly, we have to know the name of the certified organization. We also have to know what type of management system and what standard, and we have to have PJR identified as the certification body. So here's an example. This product is manufactured by ABC Plant of XYZ Company, certified to ISO 9001 Quality Management System by PJR. All of that detail is necessary if it is a must for you to be referencing your certification on product packaging. Again, your best bet is just don't do it. Now, if we have a non-compliance issue, if we're running into issues with logo usage or related requirements, these can be cited as a non-conformance in the context of an audit or even outside of an audit. If we find something during a review of a client website as we're planning for an audit or what have you, we can issue a non-conformance for it. Now, as mentioned earlier in the presentation, bear in mind, PJR, the accreditation bodies, and even the ISO itself, we are all relevant interested parties in your certification. And thus we fall under section 4.2 of any Annex SL based standard. Now, if you fail to effectively respond to a non-conformance, bear in mind this can lead to certificate suspension and even certificate withdrawal. So you do need to take these types of issues seriously. We do share your excitement at attaining your management system certification, and we'd like to encourage you to promote it to the fullest extent possible. At the same time, we do need to ensure that the promotion of your certification is done in accordance with the many applicable bylaws and requirements that we're being held accountable to. I'd like to invite you to tune in for one of our other webinars. We do have a presentation on the interaction of processes and its importance to a successful audit. This is shown about every 6 months. It is an exploration of the crucial topic of processes and how to correctly understand them. We also have a separate presentation on exemptions and understanding what can and can't be excused in an audit assessment, also shown roughly twice a year. We have webinars on a wide variety of other topics: stage 1, audits, ISO 9001 itself, and many of the other standards that we offer certification to. If you'd like to be kept informed of the latest news automatically, the best way for you to do that is to visit our website at www.pjr.com. Go to the bottom of the page, enter your email address in the provided space, and click subscribe. You will be opted in for automatic updates on changes to the standard, upcoming webinars, and other points of information. I do thank you for your time, and again apologize for the technical issues we had a little bit earlier in the presentation. If anyone has any questions today, I'll be glad to help. Okay, well then I'll wish all of you a very happy holiday season, and thank you so much.